Hi and welcome back to Movies Reloaded. We are glad to see you back. Today we have a drama from 2015 spanning over 4 seasons. Let's jump straight into it. The main character of the show is Elliot Alderson, a socially awkward and depressed cybersecurity agent. Engineer from the city of New York at first sight, his life appears to be fairly dull. His daily schedule consists of reporting to work at the tech startup Allsafe, avoiding social interaction, and returning home. Elliot, however, transforms into one of the most fascinating persons on Earth once night falls. He has developed some type of vigilante persona using his highly developed cybersecurity abilities. Elliot will discover a way to crack any Dart encryption, no matter how intricate or safe it is. He just does it to help those in need. He doesn't do it for his own amusement. He walks into a coffee shop one day and takes a seat next to Rohit, the establishment's wealthy owner. He initially engages in a typical chat and remarks on the excellent Wi-Fi that has been established there. A little while later, though, he modifies his demeanor and begins to clarify his real purpose for being there. By breaking into Rohit's network, Elliot claims to have discovered his child pornography operation. There were thousands upon thousands of heartbreaking recordings, which Rohit reportedly charges his clients for. Elliot also says that he duplicated all the data files, which means Rohit is helpless to flee. When Rohit learns about all of this, he becomes concerned, but he asserts that Elliot cannot call the police because breaking into someone's system is also illegal. To his surprise, the latter admits that he actually made touch with the police via an untraceable phone just before entering the coffee shop. This demonstrates that Elliot constantly plans his actions ahead of time. When Rohit, who is now really terrified, offers him money to change his mind, Elliot flatly declines it and says he doesn't care about money. The police arrive shortly and detain Rohit. We observe how socially shy Elliot handles himself in the Allsafe workplace the following day. He tries to stay away from everyone, especially Gideon, his boss, and is constantly glued to his computer. But Angela is one co-worker he enjoys conversing with. It is made clear that the two have been close friends since their early years. She already has a boyfriend, Ollie, so Elliot is unable to confess his affections to her. Elliot sees Krista Gordon, his therapist, after work. We learn that he sees her at least 3 times per week in order to treat his depression. Elliot has access to her personal information and is well aware of who she is, as was to be expected. For instance, she is dating Michael, a middle-aged man, right now. Elliot seems to care about Krista, so he tried to access Michael's information and get to know him better. But despite spending hours exploring the internet, he came up empty-handed. Elliot is asked a number of questions by Krista during the counseling session, but due to his discomfort, he doesn't respond to many of them. In actuality, the counseling isn't doing him any good. He frequently experiences panic attacks at home, which make him want to do terrible things. And since he doesn't have any friends or family, Elliot's only means of maintaining his sanity is by using high-concentration morphine. It is revealed that his mother abandoned him at an early age due to his mother's abuse, and that his father passed away from leukemia as a result of radiation exposure. The next day, when Elliot is hard at work in his office, some executives from the enormous computer business Evil Corp show up. Elliot hates the corporation because he thinks they are rapacious money grabbers that don't give a damn about their customers. Unfortunately for him, Evil Corp is presently financing his business, Allsafe. Just then, Tyrell, Evil Vice Corp's president of technology, approaches him and strikes up a conversation about their shared love of Linux. Elliot goes home after work and follows his usual practice of taking morphine. Soon after, he discovers that Krista's boyfriend Michael has finally set up his social media account when looking through his therapist Krista's images. He gains an idea from this. The following morning, Elliot approaches Michael while posing as a stranger. Then, pretending to call his mother, he borrows his phone. To get Michael's phone number, he dials his own number. He returns the phone after doing the work and deletes the call history. Back, he unexpectedly gets a call from his colleague Angela while on his way home, notifying him that Evil Server Corps has been DDoS attacked. Deep down, Elliot is content and wants to do more destruction, but he readily agrees to assist out when Angela asks him to. And further co-worker briefs the scenario when they arrive at the office. He admits that the DDoS onslaught is the worst they have ever experienced and that they have tried every possible fix, yet it still persists. Elliot doesn't waste any time in logging into the system and discovering that the attack is actually occurring from several different sites. Furthermore, a rootkit, not a DDoS attack, is wreaking havoc. The only way to get rid of it at this point is to turn off your computer and eliminate all of the infections. Although Gideon, Elliot's supervisor, is dubious about the proposal because it could cause greater harm to the system, he accepts it because there are no other options. The recovery process starts when Gideon and Elliot arrive at their data center the following morning. Elliot initially switches the traffic to a different server before restarting the system. The strategy succeeds, and the servers are now finally safe. Later, as Elliot examines the encrypted files, he discovers an oddity. Society, a text file with the message "Leave me here," is what he finds. Elliot decides against erasing the file since he understands that it was intended for him to find. Instead, he conceals it on Evil Server Corpse, where only he will be able to access it in the future. In the following scene, a strange figure by the name of Mr. Robot approaches Elliot as he takes the subway home. If he hasn't removed the text file, he asks Elliot to get off the train and meet him outside for a chat. Elliot hears this and realizes Mr. Robot is a member of the Society, the same group that attacked Evil Server Corpse. As a result, he departs the train without delay and pursues the man. After some small conversation, Mr. Robot drives Elliot to their workplace in Coney Island, which is reportedly a room with multiple computers that resembles a basement. Mr. Robot adds that in contrast to other hacking groups, everyone in this one has to physically get together and work together. Elliot attempts to learn more about Mr. Robot and Society as soon as he gets home and logs onto his computer, but it seems as though they are ghosts. There is not even a single piece of information available on them. Next day, a curious Elliot visits Coney Island and speaks with Mr. Robot. The latter describes his scheme to hack into massive servers, erase all debts, and equally distribute riches among the populace. He wants to cause a financial crisis in order to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor. According to Mr. Robot, Elliot was the target because of his extensive knowledge of cyber hacking and his connections to Evil Corp. It seems that Evil Corp holds a staggering 70% of the global credit market. Elliot is torn between helping those in debt and believing that robbing the wealthy of their hard-earned money is wrong because of this. He says he'll think about it, but Mr. Robot gives him a task before he leaves. All he needs to do is log on to the Evil Corp server, edit the text file from earlier, and enter Terry Colby's IP address. A bewildered Elliot switches the IP address that evening and saves the data in a file. He chooses not to turn it into the authorities, though. Terry Colby is despised, but he does not want him to suffer in this manner. The FBI, Evil Corp officials, Elliot, and his co-workers gather in a meeting at work the following day to discuss the cyber attack. While trying her best to explain the problem, Angela is ignored by the haughty Colby, who urges her to leave the meeting. Elliot is enraged by this and ultimately chooses to give the FBI the file. After the incident, several days go by without any reports of Colby's arrest. Elliot also thinks he's been duped because Mr. Robot and his Society have gone anonymous. Since he has nothing else to do, he chooses to play around with Michael, Trisha's boyfriend. He contacts him while posing as his bank officer to get information such as the name of his dog and other personal preferences. He quickly gains access to Michael's account using the information, and there he discovers that Michael is having extramarital affairs with multiple women. Some of them are minors. Elliot approaches Michael that evening and lets him know he is fully aware of everything. Then, he threatens to tell the police if he doesn't tell Trisha the truth. Michael is forced to comply, and as a result, their relationship is over. The news of Evil Corp CTO Colby's imprisonment is ultimately revealed a few weeks later at work. Elliot learns through this that Mr. Robot and his vision are genuinely reliable. Later, a gang of well-dressed men push him into a car and drive him away as he is crossing the public street. They soon arrive at an office where a number of men are waiting for him. Tyrell, an Evil Corp VP Tech officer whom he had previously met, is one of them. It turns out that following Colby's imprisonment, he has taken over as the organization's acting CTO. Tyrell makes a direct offer to Elliot, one that would make him rich in a matter of months, to lead Evil Corp's cybersecurity division. Elliot gently declines, saying he is happy with his current job after giving it some thought. He logs onto his computer that evening and attempts to breach Tyrell's database. Unexpectedly, the Evil Group's new CTO doesn't even utilize two-step verification, so Elliot can read his emails with ease. He scans through it, but all he sees are family photos. Elliot realizes at this point that Tyrell had wanted him to break into his database all along. In order to maintain his anonymity, he disconnects his computer, switches off the router, and destroys the memory cards. The following day at work, Gideon calls Elliot into his office and watches a current video that the cyber hacking collective society just released. In the video, a masked assailant claims credit for the most recent assault on Evil Corp and calls for Colby's release. Additionally, he threatens to dissolve the major credit companies and divide their assets equally among charitable organizations. If you don't comply, these important organizations will get hacked. Elliot believes he has been tricked once more after watching the video. He later arrives home inconsolably only to discover someone in his shower. One of the society hackers he had previously met, Darlene, is there. She is accompanying him to their hiding place for the next expedition. Elliot feels as like he is breaking the law and is afraid of getting caught, but all of a sudden he realizes that he can find out more about society and expose them for what they are. He so decides to accompany Darlene. Elliot arrives at the location, where he meets the team members and interacts with Mr. Robot as they begin to discuss the next step in their plan. He gives Elliot the order to destroy a gas plant that is close to an Evil Corp off-site data storage facility. This will stop all data from being sent to China, sparking a revolution there. Although Elliot is intrigued by the plan, he chooses to keep out of it because it includes killing and blowing up people. He realizes in the subway, nevertheless, that he cannot escape society because he has also joined them. Elliot chooses to up his morphine dosage because the effects of all these episodes are beginning to have an impact on his mental health. He visits Shayla, his next-door neighbor and drug dealer, only to discover Fernando, a violent man who also sells drugs. Due to the fact that he is Shayla's lone drug dealer and frequently sees her, Elliot seems to know everything about him. He is the one who provides Elliot with the morphine that he regularly takes. Elliot doesn't report him to the police for the same reason. Once Fernando is gone, so is his morphine. Fernando departs shortly after, and Elliot discovers Shayla battered and half-conscious in the restroom. He begs her to report the abuse she has been receiving to the authorities, but Shayla declines, claiming Fernando always offers her excellent deals. Elliot gets enraged by this and resolves to intervene himself. Even though it means that his usual morphine supply is now exhausted, he exposes Fernando's information to the police in an anonymous manner and has him arrested. In another location, a stranger approaches Angela and her boyfriend Ollie while they are strolling down the street and hands them a CD, claiming it to be his latest mixtape. When they go home, Ollie puts the CD into his computer, and as soon as he does, one of his girlfriends sends him in a mail. He is welcome to spend the evening with her at her home. Being a pervert, Ollie tells Angela he has a meeting with his friends before leaving. Surprisingly, we discover that a man by the name of Cisco broke into his computer webcam after he left. The next morning, Elliot and Mr. Robot get together and have a conversation while perched on a railing. They converse about their prior lives and families, but Mr. Robot interrupts to convey his disappointment that Elliot left them a few days earlier. As soon as he finishes speaking, he throws Elliot over the railing and onto the rough shore below. On the other hand, Tyrell, the Evil Corp interim CEO, gives the CEO a motivational speech outlining the reasons why his position ought to be made permanent. However, the CEO shocks him by saying that they have a good candidate they want to try out first. Tyrell is furious when he hears this and rushes to a remote area. He encounters a homeless man there, gives him some money, and then beats him to a pulp in order to let off some steam. Elliot awakens in the meantime in a hospital, battered and bandaged. His therapist, Krista, pays him a visit and tells him that she thinks he overdosed on morphine and fell from the railing. She wants Elliot to give her a blood sample, but he resists. Elliot is delighted since the hospital he is now in has an extremely lax security system. It is protected by a weak antivirus and runs on Windows 98. He may simply hack into it as a result, change his data, and make it appear that his blood is drug-free. The day after being released from the hospital, Elliot goes to work, where Mr. Robot pays him a surprise visit. The two continue their conversation as they head to a pub, but Elliot is still upset over what happened earlier. He informs Mr. Robot that he no longer wants to be a part of his scheme and requests some privacy. Before leaving, Mr. Robot complies and says that society will dissolve because the scheme would be useless without Elliot. Elliot feels a significant weight lifted off his shoulders now that the infamous cyber hacking outfit is no longer a threat. He thus starts to interact and socialize more. In addition to engaging in typical activities like exercising, going out with friends, conversing with people on social media, and so forth. He asks his neighbor and close confidant Shayla out on a date. Elliot, Shayla, and the other workers from Allsafe are welcomed to Gideon's home for dinner at night. There, they talk about their past experiences and their jobs. Suddenly, a news program on the television announces that the infamous hacking organization Society has carried out another attack. This time, they have made a significant quantity of material public, which shows that Evil Corp was aware of the Washington toxic waste incident, which led to the leukemia deaths of multiple people, including Elliot's dad and Angela's mother. Elliot is saddened by the news, but he now has a motivation to destroy the corporation. He swiftly departs as a result. Later, when Angela and Ollie arrive at their house, they have a brief quarrel about how their recent relationship has been largely chilly. Ollie ultimately admits that someone has hacked into his computer by seizing this ideal occasion. The hacker, Cisco, has threatened to disclose multiple naked images of Angela as well as her father's credit card information. However, if Ollie infects their workplace, Allsafe, he can prevent that from happening. The pair gives it some serious thought after realizing how serious the issue is. At the end of the film, it appears like Elliot has made up his mind and is joining his teammates at the Society base. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. It really helps the channel out. We would love to have you in our community. We will see you in the next one.